All right. I want to preface this right off the bat. I did not expect to make a video like this ever. And I didn't expect Shattered Space, of all things, to make me want to make a video like this. But I didn't record any of my gameplay for Shattered Space or Starfield. I haven't recorded any gameplay from any Bethesda game recently, so in this video, I'll either be using other people's footage, like MrMattyPlays, or footage from Bethesda themselves, and I'll make sure to give credit where credit's due. Also, these are just my opinions. Like most people, I love Bethesda games despite a lot of their flaws. If you disagree with something I say here, which some people might, that's completely fine. I'm not saying you should not enjoy these games. I'm not saying that they're inherently unenjoyable. I'm not saying I'm a professional writer and that I know more than the people who are actually hired and paid to write these stories. But I need to talk about something that I'm sure someone else has already talked about, but something that I've noticed that I feel like I need to get off my chest. As you may or may not already know, Starfield's first expansion, Shattered Space, released a couple days ago and is not doing great review-wise. It's short, it's bland, there's a million things I could say about it that 100 other reviewers have already said, and they've probably said it better than I ever will be able to. That's not why I'm making this video. And I'll make it clear, too, that when I started playing Starfield, I didn't mind it. I put like 100 hours into it, and I enjoyed the time that I had in it. But now that I look back on it, it's the only Bethesda game I can kind of confidently say that I don't think I'll ever play it ever again. There's a couple reasons why I say that, which we'll touch on later. But a lot of people thought that this would be Bethesda's response to a lot of the criticisms that Starfield got at launch, and it's not. It's not. And if anything, it's proof that Bethesda has learned nothing. They've learned nothing, even over the course of years and years and years, multiple game releases. So I wanted to talk about it. After watching like 3 or 4 reviews on this DLC, I've noticed, a lot of people talk about the bad writing. They don't really mention where the bad writing is. I mean, it's the whole thing, but there was one part that specifically irked me, and it made me realize that it's a problem that Bethesda has had for a really long time, and I kind of wanted to talk about all the instances where Bethesda does a terrible job at introducing the player to the world and the characters around them, and making the player care about that stuff that they're showing you. That's all a bit unrelated, though. What I mostly want to talk about are the conveniences that Bethesda loves to put in their intro quests in their video games. It's something I noticed. I'm sure other people have noticed. But their games don't exactly have the strongest starts, and I'll kind of explain. You can track this all the way back to Oblivion. The convenience upon convenience style intro that really just railroads you into the story, where you're a prisoner for a couple minutes before the Emperor of Tamriel needs in your cell so he can access his secret pathway out of the city, which, for whatever reason, is inside of one of the prison cells. Then conveniently he tells you, you're a free man. You can live the life you want. All right? A couple minutes later, you're witnessing him being assassinated, and he's sending you on this journey to find the rightful heir of the Imperial City and stop the Oblivion portals. You're instant. You go from a prisoner to being Oblivion Jesus. It's kind of the whole reason why I'm making this video. They love doing that, where things they move so fast and the craziest things are happening conveniently right in front of you. It makes it feel a lot less natural. It makes it feel like things really only happen because you're there, which kind of kills a bit of the immersion, I guess, when, you have so many other games that do their starts infinitely better. They feel more natural. You care about what's going on right off the bat, kind of thing. Not saying Oblivion is a bad game. I just wanted to bring up the earliest example of, being railroaded directly into the story. You probably think I'm about ready to start shitting on Fallout 3's intro next, but I actually think that's their best intro that they've done, because it felt the most natural. You go from being born to being a young child to teenager to late teens, and throughout that whole time, you're learning about this place that you've been growing up, the people you've grown up with, your friends, your bullies, your dad. You start to care about the vault and the people in it, or you may not, and that may play into the whole reason why you just want to leave. And I think that's also a really cool aspect of that game, where the player character is clueless about what the outside world is like, which is why he's so ready to go and save his dad. And that plays into the player's excitement to get out into the wasteland and discover things. And I think that's an interesting dynamic for that intro. And it's honestly a feeling that I haven't felt in one of their games since then, at least at the beginning. That sense of wonder, but at the same time being a bit scared of what you might find out there, kind of thing. I mean, the story of Fallout 3 as a whole isn't anything groundbreaking, but if we're talking intro quest, first couple hours of the game, I think Fallout 3 has the strongest start. Now, I don't think I'm alone when I say that I think Fallout 4 probably has the worst Fallout start, beginning, sequence, whatever, out of any of the other Fallouts. I think it is so weak. It's, for one, the RPG aspect is gone. You're a U.S. Army veteran, you are a father, you're a husband, you live in a nice house, you live in a nice neighborhood, all this stuff. Everything about your past is already set up for you. None of that fun bit of, coming up with this idea of who your character was before you started playing, that's all gone. And it's like the biggest part of an RPG or RPG games is creating your character that you can either relate to or someone you want to put yourself in the shoes of, if that makes sense. And me personally, I don't want to be a loving, caring father and husband in a post-apocalyptic wasteland. That's just me, though. So when you're done, Vault Tech representative shows up. He tells you you've earned a spot in the new vault because of your military background, so you sign up for it. Good thing to have in your back pocket in case of an emergency, right? Well, not even a couple minutes later, you get a news broadcast announcing that the bombs are falling all over the U.S., and it's not looking so good. So within the first 10 minutes, I mean, that's being generous. Within the first 10 minutes, you're already put in this situation where you should be feeling something, but you're not, because they haven't given you any time to settle in. And I mean, look at this. You already have military tanks and military guys lined up and construction items all set up, like they've been here waiting for this to happen. I keep saying it, but it feels like a movie. It feels like a movie set, and everything is only happening because you have to follow the script, and you have to see this, right? And there's an entire line already forming, even though the news just broke. You already have the entire military set up on top of this hill. Like, it's so hard to make sense of any of this. And we get this classic scene where a nuclear bomb goes off a couple miles away from these people, and by the grace of God, they make it barely into the vault as the shockwave flies over them. Like, this is cool. I will admit, it is really cool to see. But when we're talking about the whole convenience thing that Bethesda likes to do, how convenient is it that, you made it in just in time when the news broke just a couple minutes ago? And I could go on and on about Kellogg and Sean and all the other wasted opportunities in this game, but I'm going to keep it concise to the intro and how it kind of relates to what I want to talk about with Starfield, and how to this day, 2024, they are still doing this style of writing, which I don't know what to call it. Okay, moving on to Starfield. So this is pretty common knowledge now. I feel like a lot of people have problems with this game's intro, but I'll go ahead and explain it if you don't already know. So you start off as a mining contractor on a random planet in the grand scheme of things, and you, as far as I know, no one knew what was in that mine until you found the rock and you touched it and went unconscious. And when you woke up, you told everyone that you had seen visions and music and blah, blah, blah. No one questions you. No one questions you. They immediately call Constellation and they're like, yo, this is something that they're going to want to get their hands on. Our contact is on the way. Things are already moving at a fucking insane pace. You've already found a groundbreaking discovery in the universe, right? Barely anyone bats an eye at this unknown object that you have found. This is a normal day on the job for them, apparently. Keep that in mind. Barrett shows up and instantly knows that you saw visions when you touched the rock. I don't know how he would know that. Apparently we were the only people who saw visions because our partner is carrying the rock for us out of the mining complex. So through Barrett's eyes, shouldn't she also be seeing visions? No, Barrett knows you're the only person who saw the visions somehow. Not only is that a little bit confusing, but right after this, you just met Barrett, right? You guys have barely even known each other for a couple minutes. He offers for you to join Constellation because they're the only people who can help you, and gives you the keys to his ship. I cannot explain how fucking stupid this is. Not only that, you show up to Constellation and pretty much find out that they haven't been doing a goddamn thing. They have found one rock, and they've been wondering what it does this entire time. And thank God that you showed up with the second one, because now everyone can start getting going on actually finding the rest of them because you conveniently showed up. It's this kind of stuff that just completely takes me out of the game's world. None of it makes sense. Everything is only happening, like I said, to railroad you forward into the story. And we all know what Starfield's story was like. Not good. So this section, being as weak as it was, only made the rest of the game feel even weaker. And honestly, it was hard to give a shit about anything because the intro of the game did nothing to get you to care about anything in this universe. And now we come full circle, back to Shattered Space, which a lot of people thought would be Bethesda's response to the criticisms, maybe making up for some of the weaker parts of the base game, that kind of stuff, you know, Phantom Liberty style. Viewers who are much better at what they do than I am have already said, it sucks, it's not fun, it's boring, it's lame, don't play it, don't buy it. But because I bought the premium edition of Starfield, I was morbidly curious to see what Bethesda had been cooking. Now, I'm not going to go into every detail on why this DLC sucks. There's plenty of other videos that do that just fine. But for me, I want to talk about the beginning of this expansion because it's Bethesda doing the same fucking thing they have been doing since Oblivion, and I have to talk about it. The expansion actually started pretty strong, in my opinion. You find an old Varun spaceship that's been randomly teleporting all around the galaxy, and you get a distress call from it. You land on it and find that things have gone very wrong. There's some kind of energy stuck to the walls. People are... These creepy ghosts. There's almost this horror vibe to the station, which I really like. Starfield severely lacked anything interesting like that in the base game at all, so I was all for it. You pretty much learn that as like a kind of fail-safe condition kind of thing, that if the spaceship broke and the crew was able to fix the ship, that it would automatically warp back to Varunkai or Dazra, the Varun home world, so that they could get repairs on the ship. And that's exactly what happens. You fix the ship, and it teleports you to that long-lost world, and you're finally there. And I thought that was a really creative way of getting us to find this planet that the base game was always saying, you know, no one could find, kind of thing. I immediately try to go and talk to my companions, because we just found this planet that's been hidden for hundreds of years. They have to have something to say. No one had anything to say. I don't know if this is a bug or if this was intentional, but you land on the planet, and immediately the kind of thoughts that might be going through your head are, how are these people going to react to someone showing up for the first time in this long? You'd think that they're going to be pretty hostile, that kind of thing. I mean, they're a cult. Unpredictable. You never know. Your imagination can run wild at this point, right? You are met with the smallest amount of hostility when you land on this planet. There's a couple guards that are a bit uneasy about your presence, but then there's this cultist guy who seems to be advocating for you for no reason. One of the security guards mentions this is a huge security risk. It's been generations since anyone's shown up. And this other cultist guy is like, oh, but you have to admit, the timing is, peculiar. And it's like, so that means you can trust me? So then this apparition of a ghost pops up, and everyone looks at him like they can hear him. They are all silently looking at this ghost while he speaks. So most people would assume that they're listening to him, but they're not. Apparently no one can hear him, but you can. And you kind of mention that, oh yeah, I heard what he was saying. And this completely changes their idea of you entirely. They now see you as this prophet that has come to save them all, just because you said you could hear the little ghost man that popped up. And when they ask you for proof of what he said, the dialogue options you're given, it's amazing to me that any of them would have proven that you could hear what that character was saying. It's so lazy, and it's so forced, it hurts. So not only are you Space Jesus, you're now House Varun's Jesus, and they let you into their city, no questions asked. Hey, want to join the House of Varun? 5-minute ritual, and we'll have you doing checklist tasks that we somehow haven't been able to get done around here, even though we've been here for hundreds of years. And so I don't sound like a complete ass, I thought maybe I would come up with an idea that I personally think would make the beginning of this expansion a little bit better. And I think the idea that I have is that instead of interacting with their leader's ghost on the planet's surface, the way that you do in the DLC now, I was thinking maybe you meet him on the spaceship, and you have a lot of interactions with him. You learn a little bit about him, you learn who he is, and he's telling you, you know, I'm going to help you fix this ship so you can go and help my people. This is the only way we can get back to Dazra. I need your help. When you get down on the planet's surface, you'll have all this information you've learned from this ghost apparition on the ship, and you have way more ammo to kind of prove that you really are who you say you are, you know what you're talking about, instead of what we have in the base game where you pretty much tell them the absolute bare minimum of what you've learned, and they believe every word you say. That's pretty much all I have to get off my chest. And look, if you like these games, if you love these intros, if there's an intro that I shit on that you loved, I'm not telling you to not like it. I'm just simply telling everyone why I personally do not like them, and that I just don't think that they're that creative. But, you know, if you're having fun with Shattered Space, I'm happy for you. I'm sure it's nice to finally have some new Starfield content. to be played. But yeah, if this video showed up in your recommended somehow, thanks for watching, and yeah, hope you have a great day.